Hi guys, I'm back with another review after a short and unexpected break. If you want to hear my opinion on the news that we got a couple of days ago, I will talk about it after my review, so stick around. This episode we only got a little bit of Muzo. The first time we actually see Muzo is when he kind of saves Mevkebe from Janam, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And then the second time is when there is this huge spring neighborhood party and Muzo is trying to impress Güliz, then kind of smoothly asks her which status they have. Are they still getting to know each other? Are they dating? Are they in a relationship? Güliz is kind of we're still getting to know each other. I still don't know about the feelings Güliz has for Muzo. Then we have JJ and Ayhan, and I felt kind of bad for JJ because Osman told Ayhan he broke up with Layla and it just didn't work out, and now Ayhan's dreams of a double wedding were kind of crushed, and now she doesn't believe in love anymore, blah blah blah. And during that spring party, JJ goes to Ayhan, wants to talk to her, and she's kind of down, and he wants to cheer her up and talks about the wedding they're going to have, just not right now, but he's all happy. And I'm like, oh, look at him. And then she's like, no, there's not going to be a wedding, I don't believe in love anymore. And he's like, don't let this influence you. Just because their love story ended, it doesn't mean that ours has to end. I thought it was so cute. But then she breaks up with him, and I was like, Ayhan, last episode you were angry at him because he didn't want to marry you right now, and now you're breaking up with him. I mean, anyways, JJ is kind of down and is looking for some help to get Ayhan back, and he actually uses Sanem's rich uncle as a role model because Sanem's rich uncle used a tactic on Mama David. JJ saw that, used it on Ayhan, but Ayhan was not having it at all. She didn't understand what he was saying because he started talking in Italian and then mademoiselle and bonjour and then French. It was all over the place. I laughed so much. She got so angry that she actually threw her shoe at JJ. It was so funny. Then we also got the Layla, Emre, Osman situation. So at the spring party, Osman actually says goodbye to Layla because he got a role in a series which he has to film far away, and he's the lead character. It was nice to see that Layla and Osman kind of left their relationship on good terms. The way they said goodbye to him, I felt kind of disappointed because I thought he would say goodbye to everyone, not just to Layla, because he was close to all of the members from the Aydin family. I don't know, I kind of see a pattern of Erkenci Kush not really dealing with goodbyes in a very good way, because we had Fabri, Aylin and now Osman leaving the series, and none of those were really satisfying. With Fabri and Aylin, I wanted to see them in prison because that would have satisfied me. With Osman, I wanted him to say goodbye to everyone. But that leaves us now with Layla being single, and there is no obstacle for Emre anymore. So the first Layam interaction we get when Layla is pouring coffee, and she was like, Emre Bey, do you want some coffee? And he's like, Emre Bey doesn't want some, but Emre does. And then there's this little back and forth, and then he says, well, I love you so much and I know that you love me as well. And she's kind of like shocked, oh my god, why are you saying that? And he says, yes, I'm the reason you broke up with Osman, blah blah blah. And he's all cocky and proud of himself. They talk some more, and then Melis ruins the moment because she's like, I can't open a folder. So he has to go, and before he goes, Layla tells him that she told her parents that she broke up with Osman, and he's all happy about it because that morning Layla told her parents that she broke up with Osman, and at first they were kind of shocked, and Layla was worried that she disappointed them, but their reaction was so nice. They were really understanding. Then we get Emre sending Layla so many flowers, and it was so adorable, and he was like, those flowers are for every day I made you sad. And then they went went out and had lunch, but they had lunch at the same restaurant as Mama David and Rich Uncle, which I'm going to talk about later. So Layla was kind of, oh my god, I don't want to eat here. He was all relaxed, but he respected her decision and they went away. One thing that I've noticed is when Layla had this blue dress on, she had on at the restaurant, her strand kept switching places. So in the office she had it on, I think, this side. At the restaurant she had it on this side. So yeah, just a little thing that I've noticed. What I almost forgot is that Emre was also at the spring party with Mama David and Can, and there was a little moment where they were kind of to the side, just them talking, and Layla, I think it was the first time that she actually pronounced the words I love you, and he was all happy about that, especially when she said that she has been for a very long time but she was scared, blah blah blah. It was a very cute moment and he was like, don't be scared because I'm here now. Anyways, after the restaurant they went at the seaside, ate a sandwich, and then she was all worried because of Mefkebe and Mama David, how they're going to accept their relationship kind of. And here comes the David brothers solution: let's get married. Layla was very shocked and she was like, I can't. So Emma was kind of understanding, but then I think it was the next day, they're actually at the wedding hall or whatever you call it, where you get married. They call Can and Sanem to ask them to be their witnesses. JJ is also at the office and hears it. He's all excited for that. Can and Sanem go to be their witnesses. Mama David actually sees it. She's all confused. Where are they going? She asks JJ, pressures him. He's really strong, but then he just buckles and he tells her everything. Mama David gets all desperate, calls Mefkebe that Layla and Emre are getting married. Rich Uncle is their driver. At first Mefkebe was like, oh my god, what are you talking about? My daughter tells me everything, it can't be true. But then Mama David is like, no, that's the truth, we have to go now. And then they go, and while Mama David and Mefkebe are coming, Can and Sanem are already there. They're talking. Can is all excited, being like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you, Emre. I had the same idea. This is the only solution. I'm so proud of you. They were kind of stressed, and Miss Slow Motion appears. And I mean, this woman, it made me angry how slow she was moving and looking at the pages and cleaning her glasses. And the first moment she came, she was like, who's the couple I'm going to marry? And I was like, are you for real? I had the same reaction as Can. So Emre and Layla marry. I'm going to talk about the rest of the scene later in my review. So now moving on to the Janam storyline. After the birthday party, Sanem is all happy about it. It was so funny that Nihat pulled the dad joke. When I saw the trailer I was like, oh my god, is he really against it? But then he was all like a naughty kid, looking left and right, looking at desperate Sanem, Layla, Mefkebe, all shocked. Oh my god, is he really meaning that? At the same time we get Can being very happy and amazed by the book that Sanem made him, and we also get to see that Sanem put some old football cards Can collected as a little kid with the help of Emre, and he was like, oh my god, where did you get that from? I almost forgot about them. It was such a nice moment. And Mama David was like, oh, but you got so many more presents. And Can is like, yes, but those stones, they're so amazing. I love those two presents. So basically focusing only on Sanem and Sanem's family present. And Emre kind of notices it and signs to Mama David. So Can is like, oh, but thank you for organizing this party. And she's like, well, you're welcome, but don't forget about Pauline, and she loves you so much. Why don't you see it? And he's like, my eyes don't see anyone apart from Sanem, and my heart doesn't beat for anyone apart from Sanem. Why don't you see that? And she's like, well, I see it, and that's my main concern, because I don't want you to end up like me and your father. And he's like, well, we're completely different, blah blah blah. Then Janam has a phone conversation or all being cute and adorable, and Mama David venting to Emre, being like, oh my god, Polen left me alone in this war, I'm not accepting their engagement, blah blah blah. And Emre is just like, oh my god, is she talking about war again? He was frustrated himself, and then he's like, just accept it, he made his own decision, just kind of calming her down. Then we also get to see Nihat and Mevkibe talking about how they're going to cope with 2 weddings, because at that time they don't know about Layla and Osman. Mevkibe is like, well, what about the money? We don't have that much money. And then she comes up with the idea to call Nihat's brother, actually twin brother. So we get a few more information about Nihat. So he has a twin brother who's 3 minutes older than him, and he is quite rich, but at the same time really greedy. Mevkibe calls him, and that phone conversation was hilarious. I was starting to like that uncle. The next day we get to see Mama David and Yi talking about Janam and her kind of influencing Yi to pursue Sanem. Now that Polen is gone, she needs some support, and the best person to work with her is Yi, because he's so close to Sanem, and she really does influence him and kind of pours all the evilness into him. At first he was like all for Janam, but then after some time he was like, oh, you're right. So Mama David was like, well, what if they fight? And she says no, Jan will get back to his old ways, and she needs support because she will be very sad, and she needs a friend, and that friend could be you, and just so much BS. I just couldn't cope. And then we also get Yi reading a letter, not really reading it, but saying that he wrote down his feelings for Sanem, and then he puts it in a drawer. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that letter will be found very, very soon, and it will get awkward. At the same time, we get to see Janam out for breakfast, talking about their situation, how frustrating it is, and that they want to marry as soon as possible. And we get the preview, and Jan also telling Sanem that he doesn't trust Yeet, especially by the way he looks at Sanem, and she's like, well, he doesn't behave differently with me than anybody else. And Jan is still skeptical, and she tells him, as soon as I see him change, I will quit. After that, JJ, Daran, Güliz, and basically the whole agency except for Mama David are planning a surprise for Janam. While JJ, Daran, and Güliz are planning all of that, Sanem is telling Layla about Jan's jealousy and the fact that she will quit as soon as she sees Yeet changing his behavior. The bad thing is that he actually listened to it. So my prediction is that he won't change his behavior, so she wouldn't leave his publishing office. Anyways, Daran comes, gets all 3 of them, and then JJ comes with the cake. Everyone is happy, celebrating, and JJ is just doing this with the knife. It was so hilarious. The first time I watched it, I only looked at Janam. The second time I watched it, I was only looking at JJ, and it was hilarious. Janam was very happy about it. Everyone was congratulating them. Mama David was just rolling her eyes in the background, especially when everyone was chanting kiss, kiss, kiss. And then she walks away actually into a meeting room. Jan sees that and seizes the moment. So they kind of corner Mama David in this meeting room, and Sanem kept putting her foot in it, and it was so hilarious. And Jan is like, what you're saying? It was so hilarious how they tried to corner Mama David and her trying to escape, but in the end she did. Jan got really frustrated. Sanem told him, I really want you to be more understanding and more patient, especially in this period of time. Anyways, they try the same with Mevkibe, and that's the scene we already got in the trailer where she's at the shop. But before that, there are a few women from the neighborhood all praising Jan and what an amazing man Sanem got. They were like, well, when's the wedding? And Jan is like, very soon, we will let you know, don't worry about it. It was just so funny to see that. Anyways, Mevkibe is trying to escape. Muzo, as I already said, saves her because he needs to talk about organizing this spring party, and because she's the mayor, she needs to decide on a few things. But before that, Muzo was like, don't you dare hurting Sanem, because if you do, you have to deal with me. It was so hilarious. I mean, Muzo fighting with John, it would be hilarious. Then we have the big spring party. So I already talked about Muzo and Gülis, Osman saying goodbye, and the Divids are coming. Mama Divid isn't very thrilled about the location because she thought they would go out for lunch somewhere fancy. Anyways, Mevkebe is like being a mayor and being like, welcome to our neighborhood. It was just really hilarious to see two worlds colliding. Then Mevkebe shows Mama Divid around and Janam trying to find the time to talk about the wedding. Then they're all sitting at the table, Mama Divid not eating anything because she doesn't know who made the food, and then Nihat just says, well, this was made by that person, this was made by that person. And then Mama Divid was like, well, don't you have some toast? Nihat and Mevkebe are like, toast? And Can sees it. Even Emre was like, what are you talking about? And Can is like, I heard it, she meant dost. So basically friend. So Can was always trying to calm the situation, and then Mama Divid and Mevkebe are talking about Janam, and Can and Sanem are actually analyzing what is happening. So Mama Divid comes up with that idea that now that Janam is engaged, they can move in together, see how it works out. And Mevkebe is so shocked because she's still that traditional woman that after you marry you move in, so not before. And she gets all worked up, everyone notices it, everyone is like, just calm down, calm down. And then when Can tries to move the conversation towards the wedding, he's like, well, I want to talk about the wedding, and Mevkebe is like, we have such an amazing wedding soup, you should really try it. And then the second time they try it, they're actually interrupted by a car, and who comes? The rich twin. I know he's called Mitad, but I'm just calling him Rich Uncle. He's such a jokester. I laughed so much when he was talking to everyone. Nihat got so angry. Can kept calming him down, being like, don't worry about it. Rich Uncle was so amazed by Mama Divid. He even gave her his card. It was so funny. Then he talked to Emre and thought that he was Can because he was dressed nicely. And then Can actually talks with him in Italian. Rich Uncle is googling him. Oh my god, I laughed so much. And then he kept taking selfies only with Mama Divid, so everyone was kind of squeezing it, but in the end there was only him and Mama Divid in the selfie. It was so funny. I really like him, and he was constantly making jokes. Even the one joke we got from the trailer where he said that Can looked like Tartan. Then a little bit later, Can and Sanem are off to the side talking, being kind of frustrated that they couldn't talk to Mama Divid and Mevkebe. And Can is like, okay, you know what, we will try another time. And he goes up to the table where everyone is sitting and is like, well, I think we should leave because tomorrow we have to go to work. And as soon as he said that, Mama Divid jumps up, and I think she was ready to leave the moment she arrived there. Anyways, that night the Aydins are talking about who is giving up their bed. Sanem and Layla are having none of it. So in the end, Rich Uncle is sleeping in Nihat and Mevkebe's bedroom, and Nihat and Mevkebe are actually sleeping on the couch. The next day they have such strong backaches. It was just so funny, and Sanem kind of comes up with a plan to involve Rich Uncle in convincing Mama Divid and Mevkebe about them getting married very soon, because Mevkebe really likes Rich Uncle and Mama Divid kind of likes him, so she's just giving it a shot. He's all in because he really likes Mama Divid, and I have a feeling that they will end up together. Anyways, he comes to the agency, sees Mama Divid listening to classical music, they talk about it, then we have Can talking to him in Italian again, and then a little bit of French. Anyway, Sanem comes, says, well, we should go and have lunch together, and then Rich Uncle is like, no, just me and Mama Divid. And Sanem is like, okay. Oh yes, I have stuff to do, I'm really sorry. And then JJ is already behind Mama Divid with her coat. It was so hilarious. And then on their way out, Rich Uncle is like, oh my god, I forgot about this meeting, I'm really sorry about that, but I will make it up to you. And Mama Divid, to kind of play down down, she's like, oh, don't worry about it, I forgot about the lunch date with Emre, which she actually didn't have. And then she gets really angry after rich uncle leaves. It was so hilarious because that's the tactic that JJ used on Ayhan. Anyways, Sanem goes, finds the letter in Yiğit's office because she needs to find a contract, but finds the letter. She's all, oh my god, Can was right about it. But then Yiğit comes, sees her, saves himself the last minute and says that this letter is about Deren. Sanem is all excited and is kind of playing matchmaker, and Yiğit is having none of it. He's very annoyed by that fact. Can comes, sees them, gets all jealous. Yiğit goes away. Sanem tells him about Yiğit liking Deren and them coming up with a plan. So then they have a meeting, Yiğit, Sanem, Can and Deren. Deren doesn't know a thing what is going on, but Yiğit picks up on it because Can makes a dig at Yiğit and he's like, okay, Sanem told him about that. And Sanem kind of tries to feed Deren why she's here and says, well, you had this brilliant idea because we find out that Deren can actually see auras. Anyways, Janam tries to leave Yiğit and Deren alone, but Yiğit is like, no, I have to go somewhere. And in the end, Deren just stands alone in that meeting room and is all confused about what happened and why she's here. We also have the scene where JJ is writing something on his laptop. Mama David is looking over his shoulder. He gets all flustered and his head is all over the place, starts screaming. But rich uncle calls Mama David. He hears it. Rich uncle is basically trying to apologize to Mama David, inviting her to lunch. They go to the restaurant, Layla and Emre go there as well, blah blah blah. And then when he pays, he puts a lot of money there. Mama David sees it from the corner of her eye and is all impressed by it. And she seems to like him more and more, which is like, oh, Mama David. Anyways, when she walks in front of him, he goes back to the table and takes money out of there. And I would say that's the tip he left only for Mama David to see. So he only had to pay 50 Turkish lira, but he put, I think it was about 200 Turkish lira he put in there. So he took 150 back because he's the greedy rich uncle. Anyways, when rich uncle brings Mama David back, he invites Can to finally set the date for the wedding. That evening, Mama David and Can are at the Aydın's, and it was such an awkward situation until Sanem came with the coffee. She was so nervous that she called her father Mama David. It was so hilarious. And then when the topic wedding came, all hell broke loose. Mama David and Mefkebe started fighting again because Mama David was still holding on to that plan that Janım should move in together, being like a married couple without being married, to see how it works out. Mefkebe was having none of it. And then Mama David wants to leave. Can takes Sanem's hand and says, listen to us, we just wanted you to see our happiness, but that's somehow not working, blah blah blah. Mama David storms out. Can is apologizing to the Aydın's for everything his mother said to them, and he will fix everything and tells Sanem that he knows what he has to do. She shouldn't worry about it. The next day we get to see Janım walking back and forth in his office talking about the situation, him being like, well, I can't be patient anymore, I can't do this anymore, I want to marry right now, let's go to the wedding hall, we just need 2 witnesses. And in that moment Layla and Emre call, which I already talked about. And then after Layla and Emre married, we see Can and Sanem sitting in those big chairs where only brides and grooms are sitting, and Sanem says yes and they want to kiss, but Mefkebe comes in, screams Sanem, and then we get this look from the trailer, and that's the end. And now to Alex's predictions for episode 38. So I think Janım didn't marry because that woman didn't have her glasses on, so she couldn't write everything down. There were no witnesses, and Layla and Emre disappeared. I really want to see how they knew that Mama David and Mefkebe were coming. Then we also got a preview, so we get Janım in Emre's car, where I'm like, okay, so Layla and Emre took Can's car. Janım has this conversation, Emre having a sports car, Can having a family car. He's having none of it because his car is not a family car, blah blah blah. Just kind of a pointless conversation in my eyes. Anyways, just a couple of minutes before I started filming this, the new trailer came out and I was like, oh my god. So Layla and Emre actually hid behind the wall and jump out and are like, we got married. Mama David and Mevkebe faint. They end up at the hospital. Mevkebe is like, well, I had the worst nightmare that Layla and Emre had a wedding, and then you get to see Mama David appearing and being like, they really got married. It was so hilarious. So I'm really excited to see how this all plays out. Gigi tells Ayhan that Layla and Emre married, so I think we will get to see angry Ayhan for a little bit longer. Then we get to see Janam on a shopping trip where we already got quite a few behind the scenes videos. I still don't know for what. Maybe they said it, but I didn't understand it. And then we get to see Sanem in a wedding gown, dressed as a bride, and him waiting for her, dressed as a groom. But it looks like a photo shoot. And I mean, Sanem deserves a way prettier wedding dress. So I'm really interested to see why she's dressed like that, because I also saw some behind the scenes videos of Leia being in the bridal shop, her trying on dresses, so I'm like, what is that all about? I really want to know that. So now to the big news that we got. So Erkenci Kush will continue without the summer break throughout the summer, which is a very new thing for me. I don't think that anyone has done that before. We will have a big change. Not only did the script writer change, I think from episode 39 the new script writer comes in. We also got the information that with episode 40 there's going to be a 1-year time jump. All we know is that Sanem will be very famous. John's agency will have a lot of problems, so they're in a crisis, and Aziz will come back, but not alone, but with his new girlfriend. So there's new drama coming. My predictions for all of that: we got a Layem wedding. I don't think we will get a Janam wedding before the time jump. There's no way we will get it. I think something will happen for the 1-year time jump to happen. I don't know why I have this feeling. Maybe I've seen way too many Turkish series and I already expect the negative, kind of. One thing I'm sure of, there's not going to be a Janam wedding. Maybe an engagement party we already got with Layla and Osman, you know, where they put on the rings, the red ribbon is cut. Maybe that one, but we won't get a wedding. Because there are so many more things that have to happen before a wedding. The henna night, there are just way too many things, so I don't think there's going to be a wedding. There are two ways. There's something happening really bad. Janam breaks up, Sanem gets really famous, and they kind of find their way back to each other. Sanem helping John with the agency and they get back together, and in the end we get the big wedding. Or Sanem releases her book, she gets famous, she's still together with John, and they have to face new obstacles. I also have a feeling that Aziz's girlfriend will cause a lot of trouble. Mama David will use rich uncle to make Aziz jealous. I also read that Daren might leave the show, and I really don't want her to leave. Maybe her leaving will cause the agency to get in trouble. There's so many theories floating through my head, and this video is already way too long. So I will write them all down and I will mention them in my next review. So I really do hope that I didn't forget to mention anything. I hope I said everything. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It will really mean a lot to me. Let me know in the comments what you think about episode 37, about the big news, and subscribe to my channel to see more Erkenci Kush reviews and videos that I do in general, and I will see you next time. Bye!